Hi everyone, I promised, like I said, that there's going to be a second episode this week because I didn't upload an episode last week. And so this is going to be my birthday episode because I am turning 24 in a few days, which is, it's not that crazy because I haven't really thought about it. And so here's my annual what I learned from the past year video. I'm turning 24, so this is what I've learned in my 23rd year. And before we get into those lessons I learned, high, low, buffalo. So starting with the high, I went home to LA, and one of the biggest things about living in LA is the sucky traffic. And I had a full day of tattooing, and it just happened to be the day that I tattooed. There was a basketball game. The Dodgers game was happening. Just so much going on that day in LA. And I was so nervous because a lot of the drivers could be drunk driving. I also knew that I would hit so much traffic with everybody trying to get home on that freaking day. And so I was like, why did I tattoo today? This is a high. So the good thing that happened is that I actually beat all the traffic. And I ended up getting home so quickly. I drove fast. Maybe above speed limit. If I was stuck in traffic that day, I would have been so angry. Oh my God, I would have been pissed. Next is with my low. Also, when I went home, on the day that I went home, I ordered a package. And I knew that I was going to be in LA for 10 days. So I was like, 10 days. This delivery timeline says 4 to 6 days. And I was like, okay, nice. I ordered a bunch of clothes. I was so excited. And I was like, I need to wear this in LA. I want to wear this going to New York. And guess what? The package didn't come. It came the day that I left to New York. And because I had a morning flight, very early in the morning, my package didn't come in time. Tell me, sometimes shipping can take a while, but we're living in 2024, guys. Why was my package taking 10 days to get here? And this is the worst part. The worst part is that it was coming from New York. It flew from New York to LA just for me to fly back to New York and have it not show up on time. And so now my clothes are at home, and I had my mom legit try it on for me. I was like, I need to know whether or not these clothes will fit me. And thank God my mom's the same size and height as me. And so she just wore everything for me. She literally just sent this to me today. I'm so annoyed though. I really wanted to wear one of the pieces in the bag, but whatever. My buffalo has to do with what my face looks like right now. And you kind of can't tell anymore because it went down. But this morning I woke up to the most amazing surprise where a mosquito bit me 4 times. It bit me on my face up here. You can't really see it, but it looks like a pimple, but it's a mosquito bite on my lip. I feel violated by a freaking mosquito. It literally looks like I got lip injections, and I honestly get it, guys. I get why people get lip injections. Like, it looks hella good. And I mean, I use a lip plumper. Fun fact, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I use a lip plumper lip gloss. And so it kind of makes my lips bigger, but I can't tell if it's placebo and just me thinking it looks bigger, but it actually, nothing happened. I had to take photos this morning because I was like, why does my lip feel like that? And it's because I freaking got violated without consent by a mosquito. It looked hella good from only one side of my face. Honestly, it would have been nice if it bit me on the other side, so I would have had like massive bottom lip and it would have been so cute. That's the weird thing that happened. I've never been bit on the face before. Yeah, that mosquito really went to town on me. So, moving on to the topic of the episode, which is a list of things that I learned from being 23. What did I learn this year? The first thing that I learned is that it's actually not all about you. It's not all about me. It's not all about you. life is just way more enjoyable and worthwhile living if you care about somebody else. If you're not just being self-centered. Because there's a point where you kind of just like, you're with yourself all the time. There's only so much more you can learn about yourself. And so after 23 years of, being with myself, doing a lot of introspection, I'm really overdoing it at this point. I've talked about this before, but when you really overanalyze and overcritique, bog down on the details way too much, you can really get into your own head and you're just overdoing it. Life is not that serious. And so I learned very quickly this year that if you just focus on somebody else, if you put energy, money, love into somebody else, into certain people, you'll have a lot better time because you're distracted. Like, I think deep down, the nature of just who people are, we just enjoy helping somebody and making someone's day a little bit easier. The second thing that I learned, this one really is a big lesson I learned this year. Love cannot make up for not being understood. I realized that there's a lot of problems with the past relationships that I've been in and just relationships that I have in my life in general. This is with like my parents too. When I had to hide parts of myself, I don't know, I just felt like the love that I was feeling was very unconditional, and I was always walking on eggshells with my parents. They didn't know about my whole tattoo situation. When I legit walked around my house, I was always wearing long sleeves and hiding this, visible part of myself. And I love my tattoos. I like what they represent. And so it's always been a huge part of who I am for the past few years. It was a really uncomfortable feeling to hide such a big part of myself from my family. And it made me feel like I will only be loved by them if I look a certain way. And this was all in my head because I obviously was not willing to show them these things. But eventually I showed my mom and my grandma, and now I can freely walk in my house, oh my gosh, with a t-shirt on, with no sleeves. I don't think so. I don't think my mom loves me any less because of it. So it was just so freeing to feel that. And I think it's the same way when it comes to dating and my friendships in general. I really don't want anyone in my life if you're not going to accept me for who I am fully. It just doesn't feel good. Back then, I used to be even more so of a people pleaser in that I would change my opinions and be okay with doing so in front of certain people. But you know what? I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I really only want you in my life if you want me as I am. And I think that's the issue that I had with a lot of my exes, where I just felt nervous about showing parts of myself, or when I did show parts of myself, they didn't accept it. That was the underlying reason why it wasn't going to work out. That's why we broke up. That's why I'm not married to them. And that's why I'm better off without them. The next thing that I learned, this is the third thing, is that we people, I realized, actually prefer the anticipation and the journey, not the destination, the success, or the reward. I just talked about this in my Hello Buffalo, but the anticipation and the excitement of knowing I'm getting a package in the mail, that is so, so exciting. Even though the package didn't come at the right time, like, I know that the best feeling was all the moments leading up to the day that it actually shows up to my door. Once it shows up to my door and I realize I have the piece, I'm like, oh, it's just a shirt. It's just a jacket. And this is just one small example, but with things bigger in life, I realized that I really just enjoy doing the things that I love. I don't actually care if I failed at it or whether or not it led me to my success, which is why I love where I am right now, because I wouldn't say I'm successful. I don't think I've accomplished what I really, really want to accomplish or accomplish something that I'm truly, truly proud of. And it's because I haven't gotten there yet, but I still love where I am today because I'm doing the thing. I'm trying to get there, and that is enough. I really, really learned this when I was depressed at moments of this year and I had really, really low lows. But just the act of knowing and trying to do something other than the thing that depressed me, just the act of trying to get out of the rut and like seeing that there's hope was enough. The fourth thing that I learned is that money validates things. And I learned this very, very fast when I started doing tattooing and I watched a lot of people around me question it. And the moment I tell people about how much money I make tattooing, all of a sudden, everyone wants to get in on the details, wants to accept it. Like, where were you a second ago before I told you all the spreadsheet financial details? Like, all of a sudden, my parents want to accept what I'm doing, but they did not bat an eye. They were very, very judgmental from the beginning when they had no idea why I started tattooing and all of these things. And the more that they heard about the decision I made and like why I saw value in it, they're like, oh shit, this is actually kind of smart. Like, you keep doing that. Guys, and it's just crazy. It's crazy. The moment money comes into the picture, like, it's insane. I'll give an example. Not just with tattooing, but I know pole dancing and stripper clubs, like, they have a bad rep. But I've been seeing TikToks about how much money strippers make, and people are like in the comments like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you shunning these people just because you didn't know that they were making hella money? And all of a sudden, when money comes into the picture, people want to give so much respect and they're so much more open to the idea of something existing in the first place. But the fifth thing that I learned is that over time, your identities and the qualities of yourself will change. Even though it's very slight, it will change over time. And before you know it, you won't be able to relate to who you were in the past. And so I'll give an example of people who, when they say they're really fit, they're like, oh yeah, I used to be really fit. I used to run and stuff. But like, bro, when you say you used to, how long ago was that? And are you doing that today? You can't associate your identity anymore with that healthy person, with that healthy college kid that used to play all these sports, when now as an adult, a few years later, you're not doing the same thing. And it's the same thing right now where I wouldn't say I'm healthy anymore in terms of the way that I eat, because back then when I lived at home and my parents were cooking for me, I had very nutritious meals and I would eat all 5 food groups. And now that I've become a tattoo artist and I'm doing so many things at once, I don't have time to cook for myself. And so the way that I eat is pretty shitty. And so I don't think I can say anymore that I'm a healthy person in terms of the way that I eat. Actually, I would not say I'm a healthy person at all in terms of eating. Some weeks I will be, but majority of the time I'm not a healthy person. And so I shouldn't have been shocked when I went to the doctor and I got my blood test results back and I was like, I'm like deficient / I have really high abnormal levels of certain things. And I was shocked. I was like, what? I've always been so healthy. But no, girl, since you moved to New York, you have not been healthy. So I don't know why you're surprised. And that's just one small example. And another part of my life where I noticed I changed a lot is that I cannot sit goddamn still. My brain is everywhere. I am such a, it's not ADHD. It's not that. I just like, I'm so antsy all the time. And I feel like I need to always be doing something. And the moment that I have peace and quiet or stillness, I just get so uncomfortable. And I used to be really good at handling it and being bored and just kind of being a slow person. But no, I'm so jittery now, guys. I always thought I was somebody who was good at slowing down when I needed to, but not recently, guys. So I wouldn't associate that quality of myself with who I am today. The sixth thing that I learned is that it's actually not that bad being second, because sometimes the hardest thing is to follow or accomplish something that hasn't been done yet because you cannot envision it. And so when you see one person do the thing first and do it already, you can learn from them, but also see that it is possible. The hardest part is doing it first and being the only one that has ever done something. That is truly so difficult because you're forging the path. You have no example in front of you. You don't even know what it looks like. You really have no idea whether or not it can be successful or done. And so being second isn't that bad. Sometimes it's like, I hear a lot of people that are like, oh, you can't do things because it's already been done. But actually, it's probably a higher chance that you can do it because it's been done, and now you can do it even better. The next thing I learned is very practical. Shave up. Well, I knew this, but I didn't know the other part. So I knew that when you shave, you should shave in one direction. And I always shaved my leg hairs. Oh my God, I'm so pale. Like, look at the difference in the shade from my face and my legs. That's just how you know I'm just constantly wearing pants or like long skirts. This is actually so scary. When I shaved, ED in the past tense, I used to shave down and it would leave my skin kind of like bumpy. And I didn't understand what everyone was talking about when they were saying like, your legs are so smooth after shaving. It's so nice. I didn't get it. And then all of a sudden, one day I was in the shower and I was like, I'm just curious, you know? I was genuinely just curious. So there was no rhyme or reason for why I did this. I was like, I wonder what happens if I shave up. But if I shave up in obviously the entire time, I'm still following the rule of shave in one direction only. So I shaved up. Guys, shave up for your legs. I don't know about every other body part, but holy cow, that is the way to do it. Your legs feel insane. Like, I get it. I was doing it wrong for I didn't start shaving since I think I started shaving when I was like in high school. So like, I've been doing it wrong for like 10 years, guys. You're welcome. The next thing I learned is to try psychodynamic therapy. Ever since I started doing therapy in college, I was using CBT, which is cognitive-based therapy. That is a solution-based therapy. It's the most common therapy that I think a lot of people talk about, where you go to a therapist and they give you concrete solutions, plans, schedules to follow. And if you follow them, you get better. That's kind of the idea of it. But psychodynamic therapy is my thing this year, and it probably will be my thing for a while now. But it's a way of talking through your experiences, your past, to uncover things that you already knew, but you didn't want to bring up to the surface and that you're hiding, or things that you just basically don't want to admit, or things that you don't even realize. And it's so interesting because your brain remembers things differently depending on how traumatic it was. Your brain hides things because it's useful to hide certain things. And it isn't until you sit with somebody who's like really good at this type of therapy where they can pick up on little things that you say, the way that you describe things, and they'll call you out for it. And then you stop for a second and you're like, oh my God, I didn't notice that. Or like, I knew that all along and I know it deep down. I just don't want to admit it. And why not? Why don't you want to admit it? And that's basically what happens the entire therapy session. And I've been doing this type of therapy for a few months now, and I've been really shocked. Like, I will say things and it'll come out of my mouth and I'll be like, I have never thought of this thing that way. I didn't even know that was the issue until I started speaking these words. And I'm like listening to myself and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know I thought that. It's crazy. I highly recommend it because you start learning about yourself as if it's like a whole other person that you didn't even know. The 9th thing that I learned is let people show you what they think of you. This is something I'm still learning. But I'm saying this because I'm starting to learn it. I'm starting to let people come into my life and leave as they want. So if you want to stay, then please stay and do what you need to do in order to stay in my life. But if you're not going to meet me where I am, then I will obviously see it and I need to accept it. And that's what I'm working on, accepting that and letting people go. Sometimes I let people into my life and they start showing me that they don't care as much, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But no, I really got to stop doing that. I need to just let people show me. If you really care and you really want to be here, then you will. And I think this is something that I'm able to learn now because I have people in my life that are doing things for me, that are there for me in ways that I've never seen anyone be there for me. And I am so, so grateful, and I know I deserve it. And I know I'm somebody who will give back. I've just always been somebody, and I'm not even bragging or anything. I work hard to show up for people that I care about. And now I need to figure out and understand that I should show up for people that also deserve it, because there's only a limited amount of giving and energy and time I can give to other people. And so shouldn't it go to the people who kind of deserve it and the people who see the value in what you're giving them? Sometimes, this is a little dark, but this is one of my fears. And it's such a fear, so much so that I'm scared to try it and test it out. But sometimes I do wonder what would happen if I stopped showing up or caring or giving so much to people. I wonder who would still be here. This is something that did come up though in COVID, where a lot of people saw friendships fall apart, families fall apart, because they saw that once you kind of just take away that physical barrier of having to see people, you see people just stop putting an effort to reach out and see if you're doing okay. And I think a lot of people ended up accepting that some people in their life just never really cared that much, and they were just in your life because convenience, because they just needed somebody to hang out with. But it didn't matter who exactly it was. It didn't matter if it was you or not. They just needed somebody, and so you were replaceable. The next thing that I learned is that it's easy to celebrate people and love people who deserve it because they legit worked for it. And they show you that they worked for it. They show you that they care. And so I think this was really important to me because I've always been hypercritical about being somebody who just doesn't willingly give compliments. Like, I will give a physical compliment very easily. Like, you're beautiful, like your outfit is so cute, blah, blah, blah. I will gladly give that. But when it comes to like very genuine compliments about somebody's character, I've always been like, how come it's so hard for me to just tell people that that they're so cool or things like that? But then as I thought about it more and more, I realized that's actually not true. I'm really good at telling people when I appreciate them and when they're really good at something or they're really special in some way, if I genuinely see it and believe it. And I'm a pretty observant person when it comes to people because it's a survival tactic. As an introvert, I've needed to analyze people so well in order to get along with them and like create my own personality to fit their needs. What I'm trying to say is I realize that I'm actually really good at complimenting people who actually deserve it. And so I think if anyone in my life is wondering, this is so bad, but if anyone in my life is wondering, how come I don't say things to them? Or how come I'm not so open about telling them that I care about them? Maybe it's because, I don't know, I just don't see it. And that's just how it is. I think I feel a lot of discomfort when I am trying to tell people that they're really cool, or like I'm looking for something to give them a compliment on, but like I cannot find it. I'm like digging. I'm like, then you didn't deserve it. What are you doing to try to get that compliment? And I think I've been with like some friends and some people in my life, relationships, that where they were telling me that I don't do that. But even still to this day, I can't say anything that stands out for me about them, because they just didn't stand out. They didn't try. And so I don't have anything to say about it. The 11th thing, if you beg for it, it will not come to you. I learned this the hard way. There are moments in my life where I'm like, man, I really would like more money. I really need more money. Nope. Those months, no money came. Then months where I could really care less about the money and whether or not it comes in or not, all of these opportunities come up to make more money. One very physical, material example. Dating. When I try to date, when I try to get some money in my life, it just doesn't work out. When I'm in the mood to just be by myself, when I want to be alone, I love being alone, walks in a man that I end up liking, dating, whatever. And so after having experienced that so many times, I just learned, if you beg for it, it's not going to come to you. The thing knows that you're desperate for it, and you're coming from a point of desperation and lacking. And so it doesn't find that attractive. And so it doesn't come. For some way, shape, or form, it just works that way. And I've just seen it as a pattern after 23 years. And I've just come to accept it. The next thing I learned is that my parents aren't always right. And your parents aren't always right. I used to be somebody who put my parents on a pedestal, that they were superhuman, that they were these perfect human beings that could never do wrong, say wrong. I very quickly learned that they're just people like all of us. They make mistakes. They're all figuring it out. They might have more years on me, but they're still trying to figure out their own journey, their own path, what to do with their day. They're all battling their own things, and they make mistakes. And sometimes they will say asshole things and believe crazy things that don't make any sense. And that is okay. And you can still love them, and they can still be the most special people in your life, even though they're not perfect. The 13th thing that I've learned is we all have a set amount of chaos and uncontrollableness that we need to have exist. You cannot cap it, and you cannot try to push it down to the point where you're like 100% controlled in terms of your life. I tried to do this to myself, where I tried to control everything, to optimize every single part of my life, from the way that I eat, the way that I treat myself, the way that I act around others, the way I spend my money, my job, my career, everything. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to spend my time perfectly. I never wanted to make mistakes. I wanted to be that perfect human. Just because I knew, I was like, there's so much out there, like resources, articles that you can read, all these self-help books where you learn how to literally optimize every single part of yourself. I became super hypercritical whenever I made mistakes. Every month, every season, I tried to make a list of things I could do better on. I still kind of do these things, but I'm not doing it to that extent. And I'm a lot more accepting of chaos and like failure, because I realize you legit cannot. For different people, there's going to be a different threshold. And for me, I think I'm always going to have at least one part of my life that is going to be out of control. And I need that. I need that balance for me specifically in order to move on with my life and be a functioning, decent human being. For other people, it might be a few things. And for some people, it might be very small things that can be chaotic. But for me, I feel like one main area in my life has to be chaotic in order for it to make sense. And so I've talked about this, but the way that I handle stress and just my stress tolerance isn't the best. And I tried my best to optimize how I handle my stress, but for me, that's just where I'm lacking. And I'm okay with that. We've talked about it before. You guys kind of know this, but I tend to address my stress by eating, and it is not a healthy, controllable way of addressing stress, but I just learned to accept that everywhere else in my life has turned to highly controlled, highly optimized, and this is kind of where my body let itself go. It lets itself have fun. It lets itself like do its own thing and just kind of follow intuition and not try to optimize itself, which makes sense why when I do actually try to control the way I handle stress and the way I eat, it backfires really bad. And it backfires in a very extreme way, which is why I spiraled into having an eating disorder. And so this is something that I realized. And for all of you, you'll have your thing that makes you kind of tick, the thing that makes you lose control. Maybe your thing is endlessly scrolling on social media when you need a break. Like maybe you just don't have controlled use of social media. Maybe you are an alcoholic. Maybe you know, whatever it is, like you have a thing to you and fighting against it hurts way more than just accepting that it's there. The 14th thing that I learned, the second to last thing, is that soft influencing is really important, even though I really, really don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is because I don't like to deal with people that aren't just agreeable off the bat. If I have to prove a point and argue against you just to prove myself, it gets really annoying and I don't want to deal with it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to live my life. You're going to live your life, and that's fine. But sometimes being a soft influencer, not in the case of like social media, but like being able to influence people indirectly is really powerful and it's very valuable. And I've seen it a lot more in the workplace where it's really hard to tell people what to do and that they're wrong and to change their ways because they don't like to hear those things. And especially because I'm a lot lower in the hierarchy of corporate America, I don't have that much influence with my title. And so the way that I can influence is through soft influencing, by showing up a certain way, by leading by example, by hinting at certain things, asking people certain questions so that they come to the conclusion themselves. And it's something that I don't like spending my time on doing. But what I did learn at 23 is that it is really valuable. The last thing that I learned in this list of things that I learned at 23, I learned, and this is personal for me, but I learned what I actually want out of dating. The purpose of it. Why would I even want a partner in the first place when I could have myself or a friend? Like, what's the purpose of having somebody like that in my life? Because if there's no reason for it, I don't feel like I should be putting in the energy when I could just be investing all my time and energy in myself or friends or family. So I really wanted to figure out what exactly it was that I wanted out of dating and out of having a partner so that I knew what to look for and why all my past relationships didn't work out. And I'll talk more about this in a future episode because I got some things planned, guys, which is very exciting. I'm really excited for this, but I'll just say it very quickly here. I learned at 23, after thinking about it for a while now, is that the 3 things that I'm going to get out of being in a relationship is having the feeling of safety and protection from someone else. I know I can protect myself and I'm going to look out for myself. It's what I do every day. It's my type A in me to just make sure I'm on top of everything. But when it comes to being in a relationship, I just want to be able to exhale. I just want to be able to loosen the tension in my shoulders and just sag a little bit and let someone take care of me from somebody that isn't my parents. I think that's a feeling that I get with my parents, but they're obviously not going to be here forever and they have their own people to be looking after, and I don't want to put that burden on them as well. The second thing that I want from dating is a companion for life. I want to be somebody's person. Like, I want to be their main person. I don't want to be a selection from a group of people. I want to be the main person that they go to tell when something happens in their life, when they need a shoulder to cry on. I want to be that person to somebody. And I want to be able to have that person in my life, because I feel like I can do that now, but I always know that in the future, my friends are going to have kids and they're going to have a partner that they are going to have to prioritize, which is completely understandable. But I want my person. I want to be able to do that with somebody. And finally, I need somebody in my life that can accept me in all ways, shapes, and forms. I just want to be understood in that way. I don't know if I can get that fully with like friendships and family, because I think the physical aspect of it, like the physical affection and the intimate moments, whatever, like that I'm not doing with my friends and family. And I do get that level of intimacy and exploration and understanding with a partner on top of the emotional connections that I get with my friends and family. And I just want that acceptance and visibility and awareness. I want to be seen in that way in all aspects and accepted fully by somebody else. So those are the 3 things that I realize that I need from a partner and that I will get out from having a relationship or dating somebody, which is why I see the value in having somebody else in my life. And it makes sense now with this list why the other people in my life that I've dated in the past, or the people that I've liked in the past, just didn't work out, because something was missing from this list. And I think only until I can meet the needs that I'm talking about here will it make sense for me to have that person be in my life. Okay, I'm done talking, y'all. That is my list of things that I learned. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. And if you guys learned anything and your birthday is coming up, happy freaking birthday. And let me know what you guys learned from this past year of living your life. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, rate, follow the podcast. It means the world. And yeah, bye.